FlowChat Connector, Sean here back at you with another high ticket tune-up. Excited to be here with you today. And I'm curious if you've ever gotten into a sales conversation of which you started speaking with somebody and they threw a couple of questions early in the conversation and you went into straight presentation mode. And next thing you know, you found yourself losing the deal and wasting time answering questions that didn't really matter. Well, in this video, I'm going to walk through a scenario that will help you to never do that again and give you a simple game that you can play each and every day with the people that you love or anybody else that you come across that will make you a pro at high ticket sales. Stay tuned. What's happening, FlowChat Connector? Sean here back at you with another high ticket tune-up. So we should just jump right into it today. We're going to talk about this. Stop wasting time answering smoke screen questions. Sean, what's a smoke screen question? Well, a smoke screen question is something that somebody will ask you before they actually ask you the real question. And this came from programming from when you were a little kid. Let me give you an example to share what I mean. Little Johnny, 5, 6 years old, growing up in a household, right? And let's say, and you know, the days go by and one day he comes in and it's almost dinner time and he says, "Hey mom, can I have a cookie?" And his mom goes, "No," slaps his hand. And next thing you know, little Johnny's like, "Well, why did I get my hand slapped?" And then his mom says, "Well, go upstairs, wash your hands and get ready for dinner. You can't eat cookies before dinner." So little Johnny's like, "Oh man, that sucks." So he goes upstairs, washes his hands, comes down, feels like he's been scolded. And the next day, again, right before dinner, he gets a little hungry and he comes, "Hey mom, can I have a cookie?" "No," slaps his hand. "Go upstairs, wash your hands, come back down and get ready for dinner." Now little Johnny's like, "Dang, this happened again." Well, the same process repeats over and over and over. This happened to all of us in some form or fashion, whether it was a cookie or something else that we were getting when we were growing up. And so little Johnny gets a little smarter. After a couple of times getting his hand slapped, he doesn't like that anymore. So what's the record that he starts to play? He says, I can't go in and ask directly for a cookie, but I could go in and see if it's almost dinner time. So now I'm going to create this new question because my intent is to get a cookie if I'm little Johnny. And mom of Johnny is like, "No, you can't spoil your dinner by eating a cookie." So little Johnny comes in before dinner like he did the last couple of times. And instead of saying, "Hey mom, can I have a cookie?" he says, "Hey mom, is it almost dinner time yet?" And mom goes, "No, not for a little while." And then he says, "Well, in that case, could I have a cookie?" And of course his mom says, "No, you can't have a cookie before dinner. Go upstairs, wash your hands and get ready for dinner." So little Johnny runs upstairs, washes his hands, comes back to dinner. He's like, "Dang it, that didn't work." Right? And so this process continues and continues and continues. And little Johnny starts to develop more questions. And so like the next day he comes in, "Hey mom, is dinner ready yet?" "No, not yet." "Oh, okay. Well, I'm kind of hungry. Is there something that I could maybe eat before dinner?" Well, what are you thinking?" "How about a cookie?" "Yeah, okay. You can have a quick cookie now because dinner's not ready for the next 45 minutes. And then little Johnny has success. So through trial and error, he gets through all of these different stages of asking a question that's different. And these become what we know as smoke screen questions. These are the records that were put in our head when we were a little kid and we're growing up. And next thing you know, we come to the place where we're like, it's business time. Little Johnny has now become John, right? And so now John gets married and he still has this record of smokescreen questions in his head. And he gets married to Jane. And he comes home one night thinking, "Oh man, I want to go play poker with the boys." And so instead of just going right up to Jane saying, "Hey hun, I'm going to go play poker with the boys," he says, "Hey hun, do we have plans on Friday night?" "No." And she thinks, "Oh, maybe we're going on a date or doing something else." And she might ask, "Hey, well, why do you ask?" "Well, I was just wondering if we had plans on Friday night because I was thinking about doing something for myself. I just needed to get a little away, get a little time." And Jane is supportive and says, "Sure, hon, that's a great thing. Go ahead and do that." And he's like, "Well, actually, the boys invited me to play some poker. I think that'd be all right." And then Jane says yes. And this conversation ensues, but it's the record from when little Johnny was a kid and his mom was slapping his hand about no cookie. And this is what we call smoke screen questions. Now, as we translate that into sales and sales, high ticket sales, one of the things we got to remember is every prospect that we start to speak to has these smoke screen questions and they will throw them right in your face. So as a sales professional, sales ascender, FlowChat connector, one of the things we need to do is be prepared for this, right? And so the question that I got today that kind of sparked this whole thing was Terry asked this. She said, "Sean, I spend a lot of time answering questions that I think are important, but I'm not closing deals and I feel like I'm spinning my wheels." Yes, these are because you're probably digging deep into answering a smokescreen question. So let me talk to you about the story that Terry shared with me because this is valuable. This is something that you can use today in in your business. So in the particular situation, Terry is a PR firm. Terry helps, or she runs a PR firm, and she helps other companies, particularly restaurants, to grow. And so a new client came in recently. This was the conversation we had that sparked this question. And Terry was asked the following. They said, hey, well, have you ever worked with restaurants before? And Terry thought, oh, this is exactly the question that I answered because I'm a PR firm. Of course, I'm going to go answer this question. And she goes deep in saying, well, yes, actually, we work with a variety of different restaurants. We've done a bunch of different campaigns. And she starts telling a little bit more about her story instead of stopping and remembering there's these smokescreen questions. And so then what happens is the prospect says, oh, well, sounds like you're doing great, but I'm not looking for a cookie cutter solution. See, I'm unique. I'm different. Of course, that's what everybody thinks. And the prospect is telling Terry this now. And Terry says, oh, well, dang it. And she loses the opportunity because she jumped in and answered an actual smokescreen question instead of actually answering the real question. So what's the secret, right? What we need to do is eliminate the smokescreens by using the rule of 3. This is how it works. The very first time a prospect throws a question your way that feels like a softball the size of a watermelon coming to the plate where you can smash it in half out of the park, don't answer the question. Okay, we need to have self-discipline to say as a sales professional, like, man, I work with a lot of people. You know, if I'm Terry and I get asked that question, like about a restaurant, hey, do you work with other restaurants? They're like, yeah, I've worked with a lot of different companies. Like, why do you ask? Great question. And all of a sudden now, instead of me saying I've worked with hundreds of restaurants, if I'm Terry, and all of a sudden these restaurants, like the guy says, oh, sorry, I don't want cookie cutter, I want custom. Well, now Terry hasn't backed herself into a box. And the answer can be from the prospect would be something like, oh, well, we actually have a very unique setup and we do all this stuff differently and we're looking for a little bit of a custom solution. And then Terry would go on and be like, well, okay, well, why is having a custom solution important for you? And that's the second one, right? This is the rule of 3. This is how you use it. And the customer says, well, we actually want this and this, and we're trying to achieve this, and this is the thing that we need to go. And Terry says again, well, why haven't you done that yet soon? Because you kind of seem to know where you're going. And then Terry says, problem. And the prospect says to Terry, problem. This drives us into the conversation where Terry now has all the ammunition and all the problems, and the focus is not on her and her PR firm, but it's rather on the client and their actual real problems. The rule of 3 was perfect in the scenario because she was asked, hey, do you work with other restaurants? Instead of answering that T-ball question, it was, well, that's a great question. Why do you ask? I work with a lot of different businesses. And then it digs back into the prospect. So it's basically reversing the script on the prospect and getting them to now share all of their valuable secrets with us, right? And this is how you can always back yourself out of any box, never answer the smoke screen question. Just remember the rule of 3. So when a prospect comes to you for the first time, they throw an easy T-ball, softball question at you. Don't answer it. Say, hey, that's a great question. Why'd you ask that? And that's the first smoke screen. Then they're going to say another question and say that another smoke screen. Answer it with another question back. And then the last time, answer the question back. And sometimes what you'll find is they don't have 3. Maybe they only have 1 or 2 smoke screen questions because of the way that they were brought up. That gets into like, is it your firstborn or your 9th born kind of prospect that you're dealing with? Another little psychology lesson that we can go into later. But the idea is no matter what, there's going to be on average 3 or less smokescreen questions. And if you can go through those smokescreen, get the real one, and then answer that question, right? Because now the prospect's like, well, we're custom. Yeah, cool. Well, that makes sense. Like we could build a custom solution. That's actually one of our specialties. Let me talk to you about that. Now, Terry has that to talk about if she wants to. And that's going to give her a much more robust answer. And it's going to allow her to excel in that conversation. So that is what the smokescreen questions are. Stop wasting time in answering smokescreen questions. Use the rule of 3 by reversing those questions back, even if it's a very easy question. And typically it's going to be, hey, what do you do? What's the, like maybe not what you do, but rather when you get into that conversation where you kind of realize I shouldn't probably answer this question, when your gut's screaming that at you, don't just ask a question back. And here's a little pro tip that I wanted to share as we kind of end today's session. Okay. So one of the things that you can do to retrain your brain to really like blast this out, and you don't have to do this for very long. It's, you could do it for a weekend or a week or a month, or I try to do it as a lot because it creates better communication with whoever you're talking to, is play this game. And the game is never respond to the question with an answer, rather ask a question. It's like answer your questions with questions. Like answer whatever is ever said to you, answer with a question. And just train yourself to do that every single time. Whatever someone says to you, turn it back into a question and throw it back into that person. And as you do this, you're going to kind of suck at first. Most time you suck at everything you try to do the first time. But when you get a little better and you start throwing better questions, now you start to say, okay, here's how I'm going to throw some art into this. I'm going to ask a question that person didn't even feel like it was a question coming back, and it was right in the alley. And that's when you start to put personality into the science of sales. And that's when you ascend to becoming a true sales professional and a FlowChat connector. So with that said, you've just been tuned up for another high ticket tune up. Please smash the like button, share this to a lot of people that could use it, feed the algorithm gods, because it's important that other people communicate better. That's my mission. We help more people communicate easily and better. That's what we do. So with that said, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I can't wait to see you next time.